Hey, what's going on people? It's SGZ here from the SpartanGameZone, and in this video I'll be giving you an in-depth look at my Mystic Striker Amara build in Borderlands 3. This build makes the best use of Amara's many melee focused skills to deal incredible damage. Melee damage and splash damage are busted in this game, and this build takes advantage of both of those. I'll be letting you know exactly what skills you need to spec into and what gear and weapons you want to pick up to have you dominate endgame content as Amara the Siren. So let's crack into the skill tree, and here it is on screen now. You'll notice we've gone all the way down in her purple tree, as that is where the majority of her melee skills lie. This build deals damage in a number of different ways. It's not simply shoot guy with gun, but instead slap guy with fish, summon orb of mass destruction, cripple enemies with a thunderous nova. I hope you catch my drift. This build gives us access to all of that and more, and we also have access to all of the attuned elements. When it comes to key skills, there is quite a lot going on, but to start with, the easy ones to understand are Find Your Center and Illuminated Fist. Both of these increase Amara's melee damage, but Illuminated Fist is the better of the two, adding elemental flavor based on our attuned element to all of our melee attacks, giving us another avenue to increase their damage. We also want to be increasing splash damage through skills like Arms Deal and Heavy Rain. The reason for that is because we won't just be dealing splash damage through our items, but our skills as well. A key one of those is Body and Mind, which summons a nova of our attuned element whenever we deal melee damage. While using the Face Puncher, we'll trigger a nova for each of its pellets, and with a point in infusion, it will trigger again, giving us twice the amount of novas. No Mistakes in Nature and Joyful Freedom are great for increasing our melee damage further, and Free the Soul amplifies the cryo carnage will cause. And we grab Laid Bare to debuff bosses, and Tempest to increase our elemental damage. Even Flow is where our survivability comes into play, giving us health restoration whenever we kill an enemy with a melee attack. That's mainly going to come from our Fish Slap grenades, or at least that's the most reliable source. So whenever you need a top up, just throw one out. There's a lot to unpack there when it comes to skills, but hopefully it will make more sense when we see all of that in action. And I'll be covering weapons and gear in tandem this time to help with that understanding, as there is a number of different ways we can deal monumental damage in this build. We'll start with the typical mobbing setup, which involves the use of the Face Puncher. Ideally you want one of these in a ×14 variant, as that is double body and mind procs as opposed to the ×7. The anointment you'll want on it is action skill and melee damage. We'll be cycling action skills quickly thanks to the Expedite augment, making sure we run that bonus melee damage 24/7. You'll also want to make sure that your attuned element is set to cryo, as that synergizes the best with melee damage and is also the focus of many of our skills. The Face Puncher is great in mobbing scenarios for a number of reasons. One is its pellet count, which procs a number of our abilities multiple times, but also with how it interacts with the artifact we'll be using. That artifact is the Stone Static Charge, which grants 100% bonus shock damage to our melee attacks, and also changes 25% of that damage as shock damage to 1 or 2 nearby enemies. And again with the Face Puncher, that's 1 chain per pellet. We've basically got a Bruce Lee brainstormer going on. The stone prefix is the best because it adds 80% elemental damage on top of all of that, with radiation stone giving us bonus radiation damage, and it's always great to have some of that in your build. Of course, best rolls include melee damage and AoE damage in either slot 2 or 3, and of course you can never go wrong with mag size either. Other good prefixes include Knife Drain to make us practically invincible, turning all of our melee damage into lifesteal, and the Cut Purse prefix will refill our ammo anytime we deal melee damage. The next best artifact is the White Elephant, but since its nerf, the Static Charge has become king. Another weapon great in this build is the Blade Fury, obtained as part of the Bunker Master's Vault card. It deals both splash damage at no radius and non-elemental melee damage, which of course can't crit. Its best variants include Gatlin and Masher, with the Masher being my preferred because of the multiple pellets proccing more of our abilities. Again, ASE melee damage is the best anointment in this setup, and to support both these guns you'll want the Stinger in the shield slot. The Stinger is obtained exclusively from Anathema as part of the Guardian takedown, and summons melee damage novas whenever your shield breaks. They'll be attuned to the element of the shield, and the elements to hunt down are definitely Cryo and Incendiary. I'll cover why the latter in a little bit. But Cryo is going to be the most straightforward option while mobbing. We'll want to be using an action skill start one, and with our rapid action skill cycle, we'll be able to summon deadly novas again and again, absolutely crippling anything that's around us. It also gives us a bonus 50% melee damage while it's full, which is perfect for maximizing our damage against bosses. In the grenade slot, no matter how you play this build, there's only one option here, and that is of course the Fish Slap, which like the Stinger deals melee damage, and incredible amounts of it at that. They can come elemental, which is what you should aim for, with the best ones being Cryo and again Incendiary, and ideally you'll want to match the action skill end element with that of the Fish Slap. Triple link rolls is best, but any Fish Slap is capable of spawning a salmon of destruction to slap your enemies silly. Like with the grenade slot, the class mod slot doesn't change either. Here it's the Muse, and you'll want one with a point and Illuminated Fist for 75% increased melee damage. Laid Bear is your next best choice, and there is a level 65 Muse in the save file, which could come with +3 and Illuminated Fist at the time. That can no longer happen, but if you wanted to see what it was like, then it's there for you. Again, best rolls here include splash damage and melee damage, and you can't go wrong with action skill damage or action skill cooldown rate. So that pretty much covers a standard day in this build. But what if I told you there's much more we can do, and much more damage we can deal? This build absolutely abuses an incredible combination between a few key items to deal monumental amounts of damage. One of those items which we haven't talked about yet is the Unleash the Dragon, which you can obtain from Eldragon Jr., who you can find here in Jacob's Estate. This artifact's key effect is for our melee, slide and slam damage to ignite enemies, dealing damage based on the initial hit, and it's best rolled with a melee damage boosting passive. Now that may not sound like much to you, but when you consider having an Incendiary Stinger which can apply those melee dots, and an Elemental Crit Anointment on your Psycho Stabber to scale the damage of that dot monstrously high, then I'm betting it well. So what you'll want for this to work best is a Psycho Stabber with an action skill and melee damage anointment, another with an Elemental Crit Anointment, and make sure your attuned element is set to Incendiary. You will then want to activate your action skill, ideally Phase Cast, so we can debuff our target through Laid Bear. That will then trigger our Incendiary Stinger's Nova to apply the dot through Unleash the Dragon, and then when we swap to the Psycho Stabber with the Elemental Crit Anoint, we'll trigger a powerful explosion that'll wipe that health bar clean off Pandora. We use 2 Psycho Stabbers so we can maximize the damage of the initial dot, and if your target is out of reach, you can always use the Fish Slap to trigger the chain reaction. If that wasn't enough for you, this build can also deal to bosses in another way that's almost as deadly. We can use Amara's Phaseflare action skill to pop bosses like Bubbles. To maximize its damage, you want to equip the Guardian Angel for that potential 500% V2 damage increase the further you are away from your target. Punching it multiple times will increase its damage, and when it's fully charged up, there's not much in the game that will survive being close to it. You want to make sure you have a Phaseflare anointment on your Guardian Angel to increase its damage even further. And the Psycho Stabber's another great option if you're thinking about what to hold in your hand. Also, don't forget to match your attuned element with that of the health bar you're facing for your highest one-shot potential. When you piece all this together, this build is incredible across the bossing and mobbing arenas. Melee Amara truly is something else. Don't forget to check out the save file in the description, and I'll catch you in the next one.